Hello and welcome back to Eastbourne Council Watch. Oh, it was a long and bad-tempered council meeting last week. Normally when a member of the public speaks, they move the relevant item to the beginning of the agenda so that we can say our piece and go home, but not this time. It just so happened that the two of us who had slots to speak are, shall I say, known to the council, and either they didn't want that item at the start of the meeting because it was a motion of no confidence in the Cabinet's financial dealings, or they wished to punish us and discourage us from coming back. So 2 hours into the meeting, having sat through a lot of financial reports and a lot of bickering, we had a break, and I had an interesting conversation with the Tory councillor who was moving the motion. Yes, horrible terminology, I know. And he said, yes, they spend millions on net zero, which his side of the council thinks is delusional. And he said that a lot of the Lib Dems also don't think it's a good idea. And so it seems that this is all down to a few eco-nutters in our council who are driving the agenda. But he wanted to have a meeting with us, and maybe this is a slight chink in the armour, so we'll see what comes out of that. And I just want to add very briefly that if, like me, you sometimes feel that you're banging your head against a brick wall, whatever you're doing, whether you're a full-on activist or dropping seeds into the checkout queue conversation, please take heart from something that happened a couple of weeks ago after my last little Council Watch video. Sandy Adams picked it up and showed it on UK Column. And when I wrote to thank her, she emailed back and said, what you're doing is huge. Sandy has been onto the net zero stuff for 17 years. So she really knows her stuff, and that was really good coming from her. So do watch UK Column News if you're not already. If you find it too depressing, and some apparently do, you could become a member and watch News Extra, which is more light-hearted and will send you away with a spring in your step. Or just look at the website, which is full of information which you may not find elsewhere. I just want to say that there were no answers from any councillors to our speeches, as it was a debate, but there are a few golden words from my nemesis, Councillor Murray, which we've included at the end. So finally, thanks for watching. Please do give us a like and a share. We are being shadow banned, and if you can help us to fight back against that, that's a great help. Thank you so much.
Good evening. While I'm aware of strange spending decisions such as leaving Fort Fun to fester and the pedestrianisation of Victoria Place, apparently at the expense of worthier projects, I want to concentrate on the costly measures taken to pander to the completely unscientific, damaging and delusional demands of net zero. Any schoolchild would have known before brainwashing kicked in that CO2 is a gas which is essential to all life on Earth, vital to the growth of plants. Our planet has greened substantially over the last 15 years. The fact that CO2 has started to rise after a slight and gradual warming since the last ice age, not the sudden warming of the fraudulent hockey stick study, so beloved of Councillor Murray and yet so completely ridiculed in court, is lucky for us, as we are currently living in a CO2 deficient era, with the gas making up only 0.04% of the atmosphere. Nevertheless, during the imposition of a public consultation-free climate emergency in 2019, because, to paraphrase, the climate emergency will cause us to face a life and death situation, spending has necessarily, according to this patently unscientific way of thinking, risen on all sorts of green initiatives. Some, such as the reduction of pesticide use and attempts to increase biodiversity, as long as it doesn't interfere with green industrialisation, are to be lauded. Decarbonising council vehicles, depreciation 5 times higher than petrol vehicles, expensive heat pumps in council housing, electric charge points, carbon literacy training and so on are not. The Coastal Management Programme may have some good points about it, but it will be vastly expensive. And are sea levels really going to rise? Are we sure that the modelling hasn't been done by scientists desperate to keep their funding? It's about time that those who serve in this and all councils woke up to the fact that honest scientists never talk about a consensus, because science is never settled. I and others have provided ample sources and links so that you can read the research of principled but consequently censored scientists who have stood firm against corporate funding and chosen to publish the truth at great cost to their careers. I'm aware that government diktat makes it difficult to resist this scam, but you are elected to keep Eastbourne running for the good of your constituents. And if you can't do that, what is the point of you? Because the old platitude of, oh, well, even if there isn't a climate emergency, we'll have a cleaner and better town, just doesn't hold true.
If you can sum up now, please. Your time is up.
Thank you. Please do your research and stop being blindly led astray by the Davos-directed government and insane ed, captured mainstream media and corrupted and fraudulent so-called science.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I invite the public speaker, Mr. John Whitmore, to come forward and speak on this item. Mr. Whitmore, you have 3 minutes.
Great, thank you. Firstly, I'm not here out of any political allegiance. I am here, however, as a resident who loves this town, but is truly appalled at the obvious decline of our town and seafront, the responsibility for which lies solely at your feet, Councillor Holt, and the successive cabinets of which you were a part. And now we face the disgraceful, ill-considered, poorly targeted cuts and increases this current cabinet have all too often failed to sufficiently scrutinise, but nonetheless uncritically approved. We're a seafront town, and that's why people love living here and so many come to visit. So why, Councillor Holt, have you almost completely ignored the seafront and failed to invest there, shamefully neglecting our crumbling seafront assets? Instead, you and your successive cabinets have found tens of millions to throw elsewhere, such as nearly 60 million on the aforementioned woefully underused conference centre. And nothing typifies your completely screwed up, out-of-touch priorities more than wasting levelling up millions on an out-of-town farm when there's so much in desperate need in our town and our seafront. All the while, Councillor Holt, you've been running up a massive £194 million debt and counting. And for God's sake, stop blaming the homeless and take some responsibility. Debt interest alone is far more than the homeless costs. This debt is in no small part due to your own financial mismanagement, failed investments and vanity projects, for which this town must now suffer the appalling consequences. And why is it apparently fine for the towners still to receive hundreds of thousands of our money, yet the Sovereign Centre forced to become cost neutral? The way this council behaved over the entire Sovereign Centre issue being an extended fiasco of careless, clueless incompetence, which this cabinet signed off on. Your earlier cowardly vote in refusing to publicly answer for your actions shows the disgraceful contempt you have for accountability and the interests of those you're supposed to represent. All councils have suffered due to government cuts, that's true, but the large majority haven't had to go cap in hand for emergency support or a COVID bailout. So why are we among the worst performing councils? That's on you. With the numerous cuts, closures and absurd increases you're now imposing, you have failed this town. In the real world, any CEO or upper management steering their company to the very brink of bankruptcy would have been removed in shame by its shareholders, or would have done the honourable thing themselves and resigned. We, in effect Eastbourne shareholders, have lost all confidence that you who created this mess are in any way capable of resolving it. So I ask you, Cabinet, are you not ashamed for the appalling state of our town, its finances and the cuts and increases you've signed off on because of it? And Councillor Holt, will you finally do the right thing for this town?
Can you bring this to a close, please?
I repeat,
Mr. Whitmore,
are you honourable?
Mr. Whitmore, can you bring it to a close, please?
It's closed.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody's noticed, but in the last 10 years, we've had 7 years with 100-year rainfalls, which has resulted in the sewage system being overloaded in the town, which is why we've had this huge amount of outfalls coming into the sea and things just recently. Climate change is here. We are having to deal with it, and we're dealing with it very effectively in Eastbourne with our partnership with the Eco Action Group, our partnership with the national and international groups that we're working with.